Hey, how are you doing? How's your day? How's your week? My week was very busy. I just got back from GenCon. I feel like as soon as I started speaking here, my voice got a little horsey, which is interesting. I maybe it's all the rundown coming back from the trip. But I want to sit here and talk to you guys about my experience, give you guys kind of a first timer's take on Gen Con, and give you a rundown of the things I did, the things I saw, and my overall experience. Now, I will preface this with me saying up front that I went to Gen Con purely as a business trip for this channel. And we can maybe talk about that experience as well, if I can remember to do that. But as I discuss things that I've done, the experiences that I saw, it's going to be in the vein or the lens of someone who is going to go for work as a content creator. But I've been a gamer my whole life, so it definitely was an experience to behold. So I left for Gen Con on Wednesday. That was the day prior. But because I am closer to the West Coast, it took me most of the day to travel through the airplanes to Indianapolis. I eventually arrived at 7 p.m. where I had a party that I was scheduled to go to that was hosted by Lucky Duck. And it was just an incredibly good time. Paula Deming was the guest of honor, or the host of honor, I guess, as she was the presenter for the game that Lucky Duck was kind of announcing or featuring for this entire show for themselves, which was Cosmo Octopus, which I was able to pick up a copy from that party. Now, I want to make sure I say this up front at the start of the video. All of the games, board games that you're going to see in this video are publisher supplied copies. As I went for work, I had an intention of not spending too much money on buying board games, and I really wanted to try to not buy anything. I did buy things. I didn't walk out of there unscathed, but this was all for work. So that'll also kind of, if you have any questions about like the type of games I got, and whatnot, that's also in that vein. So Cosmo Octopus, this is the first one that we picked up from that party, and they had an incredibly good spread. They had Jones, I believe they're Jones sodas that were branded for Cosmo Octopus. They were like these like grape sodas. I'm pretty sure they were Jones sodas. It was an incredibly fun party, but I was also very socially drained from my travels, my all-day travels, and my hotel was not on location. So I was very interested in just getting home or getting to my airport. I had the fortunate experience that on the first leg of my flights, leaving my hometown, I met a nice young lady who was also going to Gen Con. So we were kind of travel buddies through most of the actual traveling portion. So I invited her along with me to the Cosmo Octopus party, so she was able to check that out, which I hope she enjoyed. I thought it was a fun little thing. And then she rented a car, so she gave me a lift back to my airport or my hotel. So I was very thankful for that. So that was the first night. It was literally just traveling, getting a chance to get into the party, meeting some of the other creators that were there, seeing a bunch of people, saying hello, and kind of getting myself mentally prepared. So that was the first game. The first day of Gen Con was very intimidating. There was a massive amount of people, more people than I expected to see when I got there. People were packed in like sardines at the beginning of the event as they're waiting for the main hall to open. So when the main hall opened, I didn't have time to do a pre-walk. Sometimes media people can get early and do a walk of the grounds before there's a bunch of people, so you can get an idea of where booths are, what games might you want to talk about or inquire about. My research, and this is something I learned along the way. I forgot something up here that I should have brought down for this video, but it's okay. my depth of information was basically I went to BGG. I found a BGG list that gave all the games that were going to be most likely featured. So I went through all those publishers and I took note of which ones I wanted to talk to, what games were most interesting for me, and I took note of where their booth numbers were. And I was planning on just going up the rows 1, 2, and 3, all the way down to 33,000. 100 to 3,000, basically hitting up these different types of booths. And that is what I did, but I did it in the first day was the most ludicrous way. I didn't plan very well. I'd hit like 100, 200, 300, get sidetracked. Also, I'm at 2,000. Then I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Then I gotta get food. Then I'm back at 800, and then I'm back at 100. Then I go and sit, and I have a meeting. The first day was complete chaos. And it was definitely not my most productive day. I also had a lot of meetings that day, so that's something that I wasn't totally prepared for. I also hadn't been to GenCon, so I didn't know the layout. So there are some publishers who will send out emails saying, hey, if you'd like to meet with us and talk with us privately or schedule a time so that we are ready for you when you show up to our booth, let us know and we can schedule something. So I had scheduled several of those meetings for like WizKids, Modifius, Stoneblade Entertainment, for example. And but I didn't really think when I was scheduling the times to also look at the maps and see where these places were. So I had like back-to-back meetings where they were sometimes in the Marriott Hotel, then the Lucas Oil Stadium. So I was running all over the place, and it was just chaotic. And that's pretty much going to be the theme of this entire experience, was chaotic. Just a wild, wild time. The highlights of that day were WizKids were the first company that I had a meeting with, and it's the first booth that I went to. And WizKids as a brand doesn't really have games that I'm very familiar with, but I was very, very appreciative with how easy or accompanying or they were understanding that I was nervous and this was my first time, and guiding me through the process of how this kind of thing worked out, showing me some of their new games, and going from there. In fact, I wish I tried to take notes. So they have a Trials of Tempest is one of the games that I took a look at. It's a D&D realm game. I thought was kind of cool looking, but kind of a different take on the competitive dungeon RPG space, where you have two teams facing off each other, but they're also not necessarily competing against each other, which is kind of interesting. And then I saw they had a Star Trek game. I'm a closet Star Trek nerd. I watch a lot of Star Trek. In fact, I'm watching the original series right now, all the way through. I'm in season 3. And they had a Star Trek game, and I was like, oh, I want to check that out. Unfortunately, it's a Star Trek Discovery series, and Star Trek Discovery is the first Star Trek series that I was not able to finish. I got to season 3, and I'm like, this is so stupid, and I just couldn't get into that story. The characters didn't grasp me. So that's a side tangent, but yeah. So I checked out some of their games, and I was very appreciative of WizKids. They gave me some promos. They were like, we don't really have much, but here's a Fantasy Realms promo. I don't own Fantasy Realms. But they gave me a promo pack for that, which I was like, cool. I appreciate it. They also gave me just random stuff. They gave me a Fantasy Realms score pad. So I put this in this drawer back here because I wasn't sure what I would actually. I'm going to put this with it. Why not? Because I thought that was interesting. So other than that, it was a lot of meetings. I had meetings throughout the day, and I learned a lot when I left that event that I needed to plan better. So I went back to the hotel room, took a better look at what I needed to do so that days, Fridays and Saturday would be way more effective for me, which they were. Highlights of that day I also ran into was Ivy Studios was there. Ivy Studios makes Mythic Mischief, and they have one of the best booths that I was able to see. They have an incredibly comfortable area to promo and test some of their games. They had Moonrakers being played. They had Mythic Mischief with the Volume 2 stuff on display and available for you to play if you wished. And I believe they had Veiled Fate, but I can't remember. But Moonrakers was definitely the highlight for their booth. It seemed like they were constantly selling stuff and moving things along. So I got myself the Mythic Mischief Volume 2. This will be, I believe, on Kickstarter later this year. And we're going to go through this whole thing and give you guys our recommendations for this campaign later. So be on the lookout for that. I also had a meeting with AEG. And AEG was kind of focusing on some of their small box games. So we got some of these small box games. So I'll probably do a small box review because I think that'll be more adept. Although this is an expansion for Smash Up. I don't have Smash Up, so I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with this guy. Because I like the theme of that one, but I don't have the original game. You have Number Drop. Effectively, this game is you are dropping dice or rolling dice, and then those dice are going to form Tetris pieces, and you're going to drop those Tetris pieces like you're playing Tetris. That it was the effect that I was able to get from it. Point City is a reimagining of the Point Salad. I really actually enjoy Point Salad. That is a game I was able to play with my family-in-law, so mother-in-law and father-in-law, who are not gamers. They don't like gaming at all. But I was like, just try it. I think you're going to enjoy it. And they picked it up and they got it. So Point City is a little bit heavier version of that. With an interesting mechanic in the drafting phase where there's two different types of things you can draft. I am very much looking forward to diving into this one and seeing how this one compares to Point City. And then we'll see. We'll see if there's like a this or that, kind of review. Would you buy Point City or is Point Salad a better one? And Deep Dive is kind of a push your luck game. I would say family weight game where you are penguins and you are diving down into the shallow or into the waters to get different types of food. But the deeper you go, the better rewards you can get. But there are predators the deeper you go. So do you keep going or do you risk getting eaten? So another little family weight game. I had a goal as well on this trip was to get games that are more family oriented for my daughter. And I feel like there is lack of coverage of some of these games in our space. So I figured why not give them some views or give them some discussion because no one really talks about them. So that was the thing. And then we also picked up from AEG Waffle Time. Waffle Time, I love waffles. They're one of my favorite breakfast foods. My wife won't let me have them anymore. But this is a game where you are playing, basically filling out the squares of waffles with different types of condiments and treats that you can do, trying to get the most points. I will admit, this is not the way that I eat waffles. I'm a traditional classic guy. I like, butter and syrup. But you can have blueberries and whipped cream and strawberries and blackberries. Looks cool. I've heard people say this is a very good game. So I'm excited to try that one. Again, a lot of family weight games from AEG this time. And then the last game I picked up day one was this Goblin in a Firework Fight from Paizo. I don't know how to pronounce that game production company very well, but I'll learn in time. They are the company that makes Pathfinder, and my appointment with them was basically discussing what their potential plans are for the board game space, because they are talking about maybe making a wing of their company more focused on tabletop and gaming. And then they gave me Goblin Firework Fight to see how their current offering is as they get into it. This game is a push your luck, not a push your luck, it's a take that, almost like a bag pulling push your luck game. So we'll see. It's a party game. This is not one that I would probably get on my own, but I'm curious to see what their line of games. And this trip also opened my eyes to playing games that I wouldn't normally get on my own, because there are so many different games that I don't play. I'm so used to these big box Kickstarter games that this was like, let's see some retail games. Let's see what else is out there. So that was day one. Yeah, that's about it. Days 2 and 3 were more focused on actual meetings. My highlight meeting of those days was with Go On Board, the company for The Witcher, and kind of had a great meeting with them and discussing some of their new lines and potential collaboration work if we could do something together and sharing some ideas. And I'm hoping that comes into something, because I really enjoyed the stuff that we were talking about and showing or being shown. So yeah, that was a great thing to take a look at. I also had a really good meeting with Awaken Realms, or one of the team members at Awaken Realms. Awaken Realms didn't specifically have a booth there, but they had some people there that are part of the company that were just there to meet people like, content creators who they worked with and just say hi in person. And that was a really good meeting, not just talking about like board gaming, but just life in general, and just having, a talk. It was really fun. Also had a great meeting with Bastion over at Shadowborn Games. In fact, we talked several times, because I would keep going back to his booth just to see how he was doing and say hello throughout the whole trip. That day we also went, the Go On Board team invited me to a basketball game. And it was my first professional basketball game that I went to, and it was the women's basketball game, women's NBA, the Indiana, I can't remember, Fever? I think it's Fever? Yeah, I really can't, I wish I could remember. I think it's Fever. We played the Connecticut Suns, and it was a good time. They basically are like, hey, we want to go watch this basketball game. It's $16. It gets you in. You get a hot dog, you get a drink, you get chips, you get a hat, and you can do a free throw shot on the floor. And I'm like, that sounds incredible for $16. And we get to watch an actual full basketball game. So I went with them, had a great time. Those guys are crazy. The mascot, just loved them. I guess they had been previously and met the mascot. So the mascot was like playing with their guys, those Polish guys. So that was a really good time. Yeah, and then day 3, I finalized the whole walking around, finished my meetings, and really hit some of the booths that I had missed, and kind of went around just double checking. To give you guys a thought of my Gen Con experience, if I was just a person going by myself to experience Gen Con, overwhelming is still the term I would like to use. And you have to really kind of have an idea of what things are being presented and available, because I had friends there that were playing games. I never had unless I was playing demos from publishers, I never had a chance to play a game. I didn't play a single game until on the airplane ride back, because we had a delay, we played a pocket game. But yeah, I didn't really have a chance to do anything, but I had friends who had planned things out. They had purchased tickets. I wasn't even aware you had to have tickets to go to a lot of these events, but they had like a hot rooms tickets and these different entries to win games or play games for tickets. So that's something to be aware of. So let's talk about some of the things that I picked up for myself as just things I wanted. The one thing I've been looking for, I've shown you guys on this channel several times now, my dice collections that I've been kind of growing, but I ran into a problem is I didn't have anywhere to put my dice. Now, my solution that I'm going to show you here isn't the best solution, because I went with aesthetics and not practicality. But I was walking by the Wormwood booth, and they had one of these coffin cases, and these are part of their Halloween series of lines that they've done several times. And I just thought the grain on this was so cool, as well as their the twisted logo here. And effectively, you've got your dice in here. So I've put 2 sets of dice. Not the best organization, because you can't really get a full 7 up here. So I've got it split. And I'll have to see how I want to do this. I think this is designed more to, like, if you want to have a mini and your dice or something. But this is one of the things I picked up for that dice selection. And then I also picked up one of these individual dice vaults. These are just for single sets of dice vaults. My wife has one, now I have one. And this is an ebony wood, same line from the Halloween series, but this was a Bobby special. This was a limited edition Bobby special. That's why it's kind of got some of this interesting coloring on it there. And I thought, you know what, it's cool. I'm going to pick it up. And inside, they also have a matching set of dice to go with it. So unfortunately, I didn't solve my problem of getting more solutions for my other dice, because now I've got a matching set of these Bobby dice in here. But I've very much enjoyed the Wormwood products. They had other craftsmen at the tables that do wood crafting stuff, but they weren't as finely made as this stuff is. So I really, really like this. I bought my wife a spell book from a different company. That's the thing I pointed to that I forgot. But basically, it's a book that's got a tree on it, and you can open it up. It's wood, and she has her dice storage in there. I picked her up some dice as well. At the Too Many Bones booth, I picked up these coasters just because I think these are super cool. And inside you have a coaster of like the mat, of like a neoprene mat, and then you've got the coasters for the heroes in one side, and then on this side is the baddies that you could face. There's also another one of these neoprene mats in here, and then you got the baddies. I think the baddie ones are the coolest because they just look really like the tokens you get in the game, in terms of the enemy values and whatnot. So you have different valued baddies. We have 2 level 20 baddies in here. So you have this is the bone dragon. I don't know. I thought these were really, really cool. So I got these guys, and who knows what I'll do with these, if I'll use these or just store them in a box. Who knows? But you got these for now. Got those. I stopped by the Snapship Tactics. I picked up this promo pack from them. They gave this to me actually because when I did the coverage for them, they gave me 2 of the small scout ships that are not part of the core box, but they weren't playable in the game. Well, this makes them playable now, so that's a little pack. He said, those little scout ships you have that from that prototype, this will make them so they're playable. My daughter currently plays with those toys as themselves, like the 2 little spaceships. She flies around with them all the time. I forgot to mention this. Lucky Duck gave me this one. Remember I was talking about the games for family or children? This was the one that they offered me. It's hard. So I know one of the people that works at Lucky Duck. I've known him for like 20 years. I've sold him a house. Like we're close friends. And we were talking at the convention, and I said, that Turtle Splash game looks so cute for my daughter. I can't wait to pick it up. And he goes, oh, well, here, let me give this to you, and you let me know what you think about it. So I was very grateful. Thank you for that. Turtle Splash is basically memory and very easy. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of that flicking game. I can't remember the name. Crokinole. So effectively what you're going to do, you have this ramp that leads down, and you're going to flick this turtle, and the turtle is going to land somewhere in the lake. And if it lands outside the lake, you flip over one of the cards. And if you have one of these animals on your player board, you move a preserver. If you land in this middle lake area here, you flip 2 cards, and if you land in the center, like you scored a 20-pointer in Crokinole, you flip 3 of these. So like I said, it's memory. You're flipping these cards over, trying to match the things that you have on your player board, and whoever gets all the way over on their player board will win. I was like, this is cute. I'm planning on getting a Crokinole board when I've got the funds for it. So this is great because I bet my daughter's going to want to play Crokinole when she sees us playing with it. And this will be a good introduction for her to actually play something. So what else? Oh, shoot. I forgot this. This was the game I was the most excited about getting. This is actually kind of funny, too. Red Raven, Empires of the Void 2. So this one, kind of like a pity grab, but I'm not going to say that. I went to the Red Raven booth because I saw the two owners were there, the people who are like the lead designers, owners of the company. I wanted to introduce myself, and I told them that 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I reached out to them to ask if they wanted any coverage of their games, and I specifically brought up Empires of the Void 2 is a game that I would be very interested in. And they were like, we're not looking for any review coverage right now, but thank you for reaching out. I said, cool, thank you. So I talked to Ryan about that, and he goes, you know what? Here, why don't you do coverage on it? You know, so I was like, oh, wow. So I was super stoked about it. And funny enough, I made an Instagram post about this, and I've had more people asking about this game than anything else from my trip. So that means that there's still obviously people who are interested about this game, and it's right up my alley in terms of that 4X Twilight Imperium-esque gameplay systems. I'm super stoked. I'm hoping to get this played in the next week or two, hopefully. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to film this video so quickly and get this going is because I want to unbox this and get it sleeved and get it going. So that's I can't believe I forgot this one. So let me make sure. Yeah, no more games. The last thing I bought though. Last time I'm trying to make sure I got everything else. The last thing I bought was this the 2023 Gen Con exclusive Legion set. In fact, I got two of them, because I bought one for myself, and then I called my friend who plays Legion way more than I play Legion, and I said, hey bud, do you want one? And he said, yes, please. So I picked one up for him. I didn't want to be the jerk that shows up at this Gen Con exclusive, and he's like, what the heck, where's mine? Why don't you let me know? So I got him one as well. And these are resin miniatures, and they actually have this basic scene here. So you're going to have the Emperor, Darth Vader, and Luke Skywalker. This is the Death Star 2 throne room scene. And they are new miniatures for these characters and some cards to make them playable. They're basically, the cards are just alternate art reprints from the other versions of these characters. But yeah, super excited about this. And I really need to get more into Legion. I just haven't had the time to dedicate to learning it. And so the last thing that my whole goal was, this is my DM screen backpack. So I use this for a DM screen. But I put all, I try to collect pins from events that I've gone to. So like Level Up, and this is from Comic-Con in San Diego. So I added some more pins from this trip. So the Oath Sworn, I met with Shadowborn Games. They gave me the Oath pin. I thought that was really cool. Backer kit was there, and they had this really sweet backpack. And I picked up this pin from Ivy Studios for Veiled Fate. So just adding more stuff to my backpack collection as I get more pins for this. I hope to have it fully covered and be a walking memory for me in years to come. But yeah, this is a sweet backpack that I've been using for my DM screen. And that's that. The trip was overall a success. I very much enjoyed my time, while I was also stressing out the entire time just because of the environment I was in. And I feel like that's probably pretty normal. The food cost was very expensive, and it was difficult for me to find times food that worked. Yes, I know that they have the food trucks, but the food trucks were over by the Lucas Oil Stadium, so it was a fairly significant walk depending on where you're at in the convention hall. And then there was pretty long lines and a lot of times. So I tried to, at times, find different alternative solutions. When I was at Level Up Retreat, I found that the best way to get food was actually Uber Eats, because it was relatively the same price as ordering at any of the food trucks. And it arrived quicker. It'd be there like in 15 to 20 minutes. So I did that a few times at Gen Con, ordered Chipotle, and it would show up in like 15 minutes. I was like, this is great. I'm getting a good meal, paying roughly like $16 for the burrito, which is expensive, but the same price you pay for anything at the food trucks. And I didn't have to walk a half mile, 2 miles, whatever the distance was. It seemed like forever all the time. But I think when you walk like 20,000 steps in a day, like anything beyond like what you want to do that's about it. So yeah, that was my trip. I'm excited for what the future holds for Game Brigade and what we can do here on the channel and the new direction I kind of want to take this channel in. on type of content, on the release schedule. There's a bunch of things I'm trying to get moving for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. So yeah, remember, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys for staying here and subscribing and joining the community. I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.